Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jim, and I guess I just want to sit here and talk to you guys for a few minutes. I think it's impossible to have a firearm-centric YouTube channel and not discuss this at some point. And yes, of course, that is talking about how Sig keeps shooting themselves in the foot and unfortunately paying customers in their feet. You know, this is really a difficult topic to tackle because for most of my life, I've been a Sig fan. When I was a younger kid and reading my dad's gun magazines and Soldier of Fortune and Gun Talk and Guns and Ammo and all that stuff, I was always fascinated with the FBI and CIA choice with Sig Sauer's. I thought, man, that's a big, bulky looking gun. I could understand the appeal to Glock, especially because Glock was so new at that time. Because it was so different, and they were, we look at them today as blocky and everything, but they were sleek and wildly different from every other gun that was available at the time. Your Smith & Wesson third generation automatics were the dominant selling semi-autos at that particular time. And then along came Sig with their big, bulky, top-heavy looking all-metal guns. And they really brought in the previous era with a whole new era. Because again, what I mentioned there, Glock was just starting to come in. This is 84, 85, in that range that I'm thinking of. Seeing ads for Sig 226s, P320s, stuff like that. And then, Glock starts getting popular, polymer starts getting popular, although for the longest time, it was really only Glock that was doing polymer. But that was that shift when Glock kind of took over, and then Smith & Wesson and Springfield Armory tried to ride Glock's coattails and create their own striker-fired, polymer-framed handguns. And initially, as we know, Smith & Wesson failed miserably with that Sigma. Oh, God, that thing was just terrible. I bought one just because it was going to be the newest, coolest thing, or so we thought. And I saw a picture and went, that doesn't look too bad. Looks like a futuristic old space gun. Worst trigger imaginable. Just the worst trigger imaginable. And that kind of ended, for the most part, metal frame carry guns. I mean, think about it. A lot of guys were still sticking to their SIGs, and of course they would. Again, the 226, the 228, the 229, the 220, unbelievably fantastic firearms. Long history, an almost impeccable pedigree. I think most people can agree that the German SIGs, the German hammer-fired SIGs, have always been fantastic. So it sickens me to see that Sig truly doesn't give a shit about their customer or ultimately about their reputation. Because, man, they have really screwed the pooch here. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you've got to have been living under a rock. But let's assume you do not have a touchstone to modern humanity and that you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Sig every now and then has issues when they develop a new type of gun. Let me go ahead and show clear on these before I just randomly start picking them up. Okay. When the P320 first came out, a lot of people were excited. A lot of people really didn't care, but a lot of people were excited because you had this thing that you were promised you could accessorize, mod, customize, interswap, all kinds of stuff on the cheap. You were going to buy a Sig, which is always an expensive gun. And then you were going to be able to take this fire control unit out of the grip module. It's no longer your frame, because that is the serialized component, with the serial number being in there in that FCU. So you could buy inexpensive grip modules. You could buy different slides, different barrels, different takedown levers, different everything, and customize this, much like the freedoms that you would have seen with 1911s. Well, that was great because the P365 at the time was the #1 sought after carry gun, because it was teeny tiny, high capacity, good caliber, like 9mm. You couldn't go wrong. Except that first run, we had issues with primers dragging. I say we, but I don't mean we, because I didn't. Even though mine is from the original drop, the first run that was released, I never had that issue. And one of the things that you did to check to see if you had that issue was, over a little bit of time, break the gun in, get a few hundred rounds in it, and then check the rear of your magazine when you take it out. And if there was a scratch down it, you had an issue. What did Sig do about that issue? He did absolutely nothing. It wasn't a huge issue, but it was an issue, and it was causing malfunctions. What we saw that we weren't really supposed to see, but we did see, because in the day of the internet, nothing goes away. What we did see was incremental, generational changes to the P365 internals with no announcement. They didn't get on their YouTube channel or on their Instagram and say, hey, we're upgrading the triggers. We're upgrading the fire control unit. We're making things better. And they could have lied about why they said they were doing it. They could have said, oh, we're fine-tuning our triggers to have a crisper break. But no announcement, no marketing. Just somebody would be on a forum, they would have their gun apart, and they would take a picture of it, asking questions to the group about certain things that they were either doing, modifying, whatever. And people noticing, oh, hey, that's different than mine. And yours is different than mine. Oh, yours are 6 months old? Mine's 3 years old. And then they started putting it together. So the changes were made, and then all of a sudden, the complaints online went away. People weren't talking about that dragging primer, that dragging, striker anymore. People weren't talking about the unreliable nature of the first run 365s. It all just magically went away. Well, why is that? Because they made the changes that were required to be made to eliminate the issue. Period. But they didn't announce it. Not even as a feature or benefit on a newer gun. Because they didn't want to admit that they made a mistake that caused the guns to be unreliable, which could then allow people to return their guns, to sue Sig Sauer, to do a number of things that would have cost Sig a hell of a lot of money. So they swept it all under the rug and made those quiet changes. Now, this is, of course, after the very first P320 issues. What were the first P320 issues? Do you recall? The first one that I remember was the big one. It was the drop safe issue, where if you dropped the gun, and it had to be a very certain angle, it was like this. Was it like this or was it like this? Either way, it was an angle of it being hit at the rear of the gun. And you could duplicate that all day long, and people were doing it all over YouTube. Because you can see a new video almost every day. And then people started wondering, okay, well, is it inertial related, or is it a shock related issue, or maybe the drop safe safeties just aren't working because shock is involved? So people were starting to take mallets, rubber mallets, and beating the back of the guns. I remember a couple of them getting theirs to go off. I don't remember if that was something that happened often or only a few times with the mallet thing. But yeah, if you dropped the P320 on a hard surface at that angle, it would go off every time. So at first, for at least a couple of months, Sig kept denying the issue. No, we test all of our guns to be drop safe. They hid behind their lawyers and went, we test for this stuff. So no, of course, this is ridiculous. It can't possibly happen. Then they went quiet for a little while. Now, the internet didn't get quiet, but Sig did. And today's Sig could learn a little lesson from previous generation Sig. They got real fucking quiet. And then one day, they made an announcement. You could do a voluntary, I don't think they even used the word recall, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't recall what the verbiage was, but I do remember it said voluntary. Meaning, if this is something that truly bothers you, you have the opportunity to send in your gun and we will make repairs as we see fit. Okay. We're not calling this a recall. We are not contacting individual customers and saying, you have a product that falls within this number of serial numbers. We need you to send your product back in under a recall. We need to fix it. Nothing like that. What they said was, hey, we think that all these videos that are running all over the internet showing this very specific angle and the way it's got to be dropped and from the height it has to be dropped from, we believe that the weight of the trigger shoe may be involved. That it's not bypassing any safeties, because in order for the safeties to be released, you have to be pulling the trigger, right? Well, the trigger is moving rearward. It's just not your finger doing it. It was inertia. So, what did they do? They took that nice looking trigger and they replaced it with a bunch of these stamped aluminum, hollow backed, shitty little triggers. And because I guess they liked their design work so well, they incorporated it here into the P365 series. So you have that same weird hollow trigger that just somehow feels cheap. But hey, if I drop my P365, I'm not worried about it going off. So okay, there we go. Now we get to today. Today's current issues with Sig Sauer. This does not relate to the P365 or any of the metal German hammer-fired guns. As a matter of fact, the only gun, the only model, one single model that has this problem is the P320. Period. That's it. Because they have a different way that FCU works. The sear engagement is different on the P320 than it is on the P365. So if you're worried, if you have a P365 and you're worried about blowing your balls off, just keep doing the safe things that you've been doing that haven't resulted in you losing your testes. Keep doing those things and you'll be fine. You have nothing to worry about with the P365s. If you have a P320 and you're still going to put the confidence into carrying it, man, go for it. Man, if you're doing it based on principle, if you're doing it because you're a shill and you get a nice big fat paycheck from Sig and you got to say these things and show these things online, man, go for it. Have fun. But out of the thousands of exceptional choices that we have on the market today, I find it very easy to avoid one single model from one single brand and just carry something else that won't blow my fucking balls off. See, I got a thing about my nuts. I really like them, kind of attached to them. And I don't want to lose them. I don't want to get shot in the femoral artery. Listen, I don't want to get shot, period, anywhere. But I don't want to get shot in a way that I am almost certain to die. Or if you live through it, dude, man, just think about that. You're carrying an appendix. Gun goes off in your appendix rig. You know what it's pointing at. And you somehow don't lose enough blood to die. You have lived through that ordeal. Shit, man, your life ain't never the same. Never. And what lawsuit would make that right? What amount of money would give you your dignity back? Now, Sig, you're going about it all wrong, man. You really are. So now there has been a line drawn in the sand. You've got people like DJ Shipley that says, if you don't prove to me, if somebody in this great wide world doesn't show me a video set up precisely how I'm dictating it, then you're full of shit. These guns can't go off by themselves. Here's the thing. I ain't arguing with somebody like him. That's a bad motherfucker that'll turn my ass inside out with one arm tied behind his back. So I ain't here to talk shit about him. I will say this. I get it. Forget the fact that they're sponsored by Sig over on their channel and everything else. Put that to the side for a minute. You can't put it away entirely. That is always going to be a part of this conversation. But just somebody that doesn't fanboy the brand, but really respects a brand, has relied on them for a long time, and has done so in a professional capacity. I understand not wanting to see something bad happen to that brand. But this isn't your favorite cereal or your favorite coffee, man. We're talking about something that somebody is going to buy to protect their life. That if there's even a hint of a chance that the stories are right and those guns can go off, that person is no longer protecting their life. They're putting their life in danger, and the lives of their friends, family, anybody out in public around them. Even if I were carrying, like I used to, strong side 4 o'clock, less likely that I'm going to be injured if the gun goes off in the holster, but you're still running the risk. But a high chance that somebody around me, walking down the aisle in the grocery store, we brush up really close to each other, and my hip is pointed in that direction, and it goes off. How the hell would I live with that? Knowing that this is an existing issue that's been brought up by many reputable people, and then many other people that none of us know. But it's been brought up so much. You know, it's like, remember when those Firestone tires were exploding on cars? I only knew about it because people wouldn't shut up about it. It was everywhere. Then the news got a hold of it. Then we found out about the recalls. If you, at that time, had heard about that and were still driving on Firestone tires, you would have been a jackass that was taking his life into his own hands on a daily basis unnecessarily. Same thing here with the P320. If that one gun is the only thing you have to avoid, oh gee, maybe you'll carry one of your other 87 compact handguns. Striker-fired polymer frame. I think you'll live. But you'd be a fool to put that false hope into this mechanical item. And you could say, oh, I fired 20,000 rounds of this gun. That doesn't matter. Actually, you're probably more likely to have an issue. Because as I understand it, and I'm a half a raw potato, so take whatever I say with a grain of salt. But as I understand it from watching other people's videos and listening to people that are smarter than I am, it sounds like because you're running on a pre-cocked striker, so you have that tension, you know, your striker is pulled back on tension and being held there. Now, whatever that is that's holding it, that is engaging the sear, and again, I'm sorry, I'm not an armorer, I'm not a gunsmith. I like to shoot guns, I don't care about having to fix them. The images that I was shown, it was almost like this little perfect rectangle. Think of like an ingot. But instead of having perfectly square corners, like it probably did when it was brand new, corners were a little bit rounded off. And that would allow it to slip and disengage and allow the firing pin, the striker, allowed it to move forward. So that was happening without anybody pulling the trigger. And too many people are putting focus on the holsters right now. When you just have to use common sense. The video that we saw with all of the police officers in the front area, reception area of their department, handling a suspect, all that one guy did was bend over and he may have gotten bumped. This is a guy that walks into frame, gun is already in the holster. So this is not a reholstering issue. Gun is already in the holster. One would assume it has been there his entire shift. So for hours and hours and hours and hours, it's been sitting in there as he's walked around, driven around, probably banged his hip into the corner of a desk or two walking around, and nothing has happened. So if you want to say something was in the holster, that guy was walking around all day with a ticking time bomb? Come on. So all he does is he bends over at the waist as they're wrestling with the suspect, and the gun fires clear as day on video in his holster with nobody touching it. He may have gotten jostled. But remember, that's not dropping it. It got jostled inside of a holster that's made to securely retain it. That was probably at least a level 2 retention holster. But yet people want to say, yeah, it's somebody's finger on the trigger. No, we watched it. It's not. The female officer that was walking through the parking lot to get to her vehicle, as she slung the gym bag over her shoulder, the gun goes off that was in her holster, that was on her belt, coiled up in that gym bag. We saw it. To try to drop a nugget of that in here, it's probably going to take me an hour to find it, but I'll look for it. I probably won't find it. And there was one, some state trooper, I assume it was, highway patrol. All that guy did was step out of his car. Wasn't touching the holster, wasn't touching the gun, and it goes off as he stepped out of the vehicle. How do you ignore these things that you've watched on camera? Yeah, and then there are, from what I understand, almost innumerable reports from the military. Sure, at some point, those are going to become public. You got Sig that's lost 2 major lawsuits, and they've settled out of court with victims on other cases. So they know they have a problem. There is no denying the problem exists. There are a couple of people on YouTube that have gone to great lengths to thoroughly demonstrate on a defective and non-defective gun, side by side, pulling the FCUs out and just showing what causes this one to fire without touching the trigger and why this one won't fire without touching the trigger. It's fascinating. There's a lot of rabbit holes you can go down at this point. And if you somehow believe that it's physically impossible, then you're probably also a fucking flat earther. And there's no talking to you. To those professionals that say we are banning P320s on our ranges for classes, we are banning our officers from carrying the P320 while on duty, I have to say, great. That makes everybody feel safer. And if you don't, I'm allowed to have my own personal feelings of judgment if I'm paying a professional to give me training and they're not taking the information that's out there and trying to be as safe as possible. Now, I'm not going to tell anybody else what they should do, but I would have my own opinion, and I'd be entitled to it if I were paying the money. Keep that in mind. Try not to draw a hard line in the sand. If you know somebody on the other side of the conversation, don't scream at them. This isn't a Biden versus Trump thing. This is something that's taking its own natural course. And no matter what we do, something's going to come of this. This is not going away. So we don't need to break lifetime ties because we disagree about this one topic. I look at it as better safe than sorry. If you heard a whole bunch of stories about people going to Wendy's and leaving there with food poisoning every single time they go, you're probably just going to go to Taco Bell next door or Burger King or McDonald's, or other shit food that you're eating, but you're not sure as hell not going to be dumb enough to go into Wendy's. And if you do, and you're shitting out of both ends of your body at once, all you could say is, well, I told my dumbass. This is a lot more serious. This could be somebody's life. It hasn't been yet, and I don't understand how. I'm thankful for it, but I don't understand how. It's been injuries to people's legs, some severe, some minor, feet, and mostly, I think, pride beyond that. Somebody's going to die. These are friggin' guns. I don't have a defective dishwasher that Whirlpool is arguing with me about. I'd be mad enough if it was that. But this is the tool that can dispense with someone's life if certain criteria are met. Now, what I don't want is a ticking time bomb in my house and on my person that can decide without warning, it's your time to die. You're shitting me. That sounds really dramatic, and I get that. But damn it, man. That really is what it comes down to. Now, a lot of you are wondering what the fuck this even is, why I'm talking about it in relation to SIGs. So this is my 365 XL Spectre comp. Love this gun. Really great gun carry size-wise. And this was my original P365, the little teeny tiniest guy. I pulled the FCU out of that, and I bought the Shalotech Flex 365 grip module, all aluminum, with the removable grip panels, just like in 1911. Gotta love that. Although, damn, Shalotech, do you guys think you could start making a few different grips? It'd be kind of nice to customize my custom gun, just for the fun of it. And I opted for the trigger guard that has the thumb rest on it, and it's really, really, really done well. Using a Shalotech slide as well. I forget the name of this particular pattern, but I liked it, and it wasn't too over the top. And I didn't get a ported slide because I knew I was going to do the Parker machine barrel, match barrel, and micro comp. The whole reason for doing this gun was to have the PMM comp. Now, I screwed up when I ordered it. I ordered one size too small in the frame. This is the one that holds the 12 round magazines. So it's nice and short, super easy to carry. But what I actually wanted was the XXL, because then the dust cover would have been flush with the comp. Instead, dust cover is way back here. And the way this comp is timed, this is as close as you could get to the slide, where it would still allow it to lock up in battery. So the missed opportunity for me is I don't have that really cool heavy front end look of the full length dust cover. That's it. But otherwise, this thing is just incredible. It's so awesome. I'm using an Armory Craft trigger because I thought that would help. Yeah, no. Trigger still sucks. And that's not just the trigger. That's all the internals. That's all the springs. Now, that's the other thing. Do I feel less safe after completely changing out the trigger components from stock? Do I feel less safe than carrying my stock Spectre comp? No, actually I don't. Because I know that these don't have the issue of going off. So as long as I'm not doing something dumb by putting some cheap components in here and maybe trying for too light of a break, which this can never be accused of that, then it'd be my fault. But yeah, man, I'm not doing anything like that. These are carry guns. I want it 3.5 to 4 pounds. I don't want a 2-pound trigger. So, yeah. Here's the unfortunate thing, though. I no longer have any faith in Sig. I don't trust Sig. Because they have denied that this, what it's being called now, the uncommanded discharges. They're flat out denying that this is even a possibility. Then they say the people that were bringing those allegations were obviously members of anti-gun groups, gun grabbers, and stuff like that. They weren't. Most of them were cops, man. And the rest were your paying customers that you insulted. And they fired back. Boy, did you look stupid on that post. It did not end that day. Oh, no, it did not. You made shit worse and you stirred up the hornet's nest. And then more videos came out. Then we saw that one mall cop in his golf cart where his gun goes off while he was getting out of the golf cart. Back in 2019 is what it was time-stamped on the CCTV footage. So yeah, man, there's just, I don't trust Sig. When you have a known problem, then you say, no, we don't have a problem. There's nothing wrong. Further, it's impossible for that to happen. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of influencers come out and they make videos and they push that narrative home. It's your choice to believe them or not. I don't care. But at the end of the day, Sig keeps getting away with it. So how do I know that the next dream gun that Sig makes that I want, and I want to put in a holster pointed at my dick, how do I know that that thing is going to be safe? How do I know that they didn't misengineer that one too? Because the problem is, in engineering, they converted a hammer-fired gun to a striker-fired gun and changed as few components as possible. What if I've got one of your awesome new rifles, man, and got it folded up in a backpack, hitting the trail, fucking thing goes off and shoots somebody behind me? How am I ever supposed to trust you again? When you won't take responsibility for what you have done and is clearly, evidently your fault, or at least known by you. How can we trust you again? I'm not going to. I love every Sig I have ever owned. I love the ones I currently have. I'm not buying any more. Not until the day comes that this is no longer an issue. That the item that you purchased to protect you and your family's lives are not actually putting your and your family's lives in danger. It's not worth it. And I hate it because it's one of my favorite friggin' brands. I feel equally as bad if this was HK, if it was Glock, if it was Shadow Systems. Brands that I really, really enjoy. To sit there and go, I'm not going to buy another one of your products? I hate to say that. I don't like saying that shit out loud. Because at 51 years old, I have grown up my entire life with Sig Sauer. Am I going to keep these two? I don't even know at this point. I don't know. Am I waiting for the other shoe to drop? Am I waiting to start seeing validations that P365s are going to start going off? Shit, man, I don't need that. This is one of those guns that when I can't decide what I want to carry, I can always grab this. It's always going to be slim enough, light enough, small enough to carry and be comfortable with, and know that I've still got, well, the magazine that I'm using, I got 15 plus 1 in there, and then another 17 round mag to back that up in this tiny little package. I love it. I love it for that. But if I've got a reason to be worried, or if I just can't trust the brand that much, yeah, I might get rid of these. I just hate to think like that, because I really like my SIGs. I really want to get a SIG Rattler. Can't even tell you how badly I want one. But I don't know that I would buy one right now. I can't buy from a brand that I can't trust at all, that will boldly lie to my face. So what lies by omission are there that will never catch them on? Anyway, that's my thought on that. Half-hour long thought. Hope you guys were... It's not really a thing about being entertained. You certainly weren't entertained, but I hope you enjoyed the conversation, and I hope that you nodded your head more than shook it left to right, and then we probably see things eye to eye. Thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you on the next video.